I've only got a couple guitars that I have from the beginning. You know, I've got 2 Jacksons, I have a couple Deans, but they're just like a drill for a dentist, you know? They get the job done. I don't sleep with my guitars. The Les Paul in the pictures from Panic belonged to a guy that lived across the street from my sister's love interest. She was gonna get married to this guy and he had a little brother, and I would go up there and hang out. And right across the street was a guy that played guitar, and he was really good. For us, we were little, just learning, so he seemed like he was an expert. You know, I don't know, looking back, how good he really was, but he had a Les Paul copy, and he had a Takamine acoustic, and I was trying to do anything I could to fit in. I was a latchkey kid. I was pretty much a loner because my mom worked endless hours, and so I got in the wrong group of kids and started practicing the skill of kleptomania, and I reached through his window and grabbed the guitar and the acoustic, and I ran. But once I got the guitar, I started to put all kinds of janky stuff on it, you know, all kinds of little pieces I could get to make it look custom. Brass pickup rings, brass toggle switch, and new tailpiece. I got a 80 wireless because I thought I was just Jack the Lad. You know, I had Les Paul, and I contacted a luthier and I said, my sticker's coming off. Can you send me a new Gibson sticker? And he did, and I lacquered it on the top of the thing so it looked like a real Gibson. I ended up using it for a drug debt at the end, but when it was all said and done, once I had turned my life around, got saved, got sober, all that stuff, I went back to the guy and I gave him brand new guitars, both acoustic and electric, top quality manufacturers, and made amends, you know, because it was making my butt itch. I just, you know, couldn't go through life anymore knowing that I'd done people wrong. I wanted to make things right. I had a BC Rich Bich 10-string, and the guitar was beautiful, but it had all kinds of problems. We had a drummer in Megadeth in the beginning that was the general manager at BC Rich, so they were constantly tossing guitars into the trash can and going back later off at night and going in the dumpster behind BC Rich and picking up all the guitars that they'd stolen, and that's part of the reason why we changed that lineup. Was it was just too much stuff going on that was not cool. But at the time, they were really edgy. They had cool body shapes, you know. And again, this is for somebody who couldn't get a Gibson endorsement. If I would have been offered a Gibson endorsement, I wouldn't have cared if that thing looked like Bjorn's guitar. It could have had 1 billion points on it for all I care.
I don't care if I'm out of line. I don't care 'cause this life is mine. I don't care, you don't like what I say. I don't care and I won't obey.
A good guitar, the name on the headstock is all over the guitar. It's in every splinter. The person who starts the whole process, from Gibson, the wood buyer, the person who buys all of the supplies, the painters, the assemblers, their names aren't on the guitar, but it sure the fuck is, because they're Gibson. I'm Gibson, and I love it. You know, when they offered me Kramer and Epiphone as an ambassador, I told them I will work harder than anybody you've ever had. And we've got the greatest relationship I've ever had with the guitar company, and we sell thousands of guitars. So this is the very first Gibson prototype that I was given when I went there. You can see it's the first one with 24 frets here. And as we developed it, we changed the inlay, and I didn't have too much more change to it because they listened when I designed it, they listened. So that's the mother. This is Kramer, which is another one of the lines that I am an ambassador for. And this is more similar along the lines of the guitar shape that I had played because of the pointy legs. This is a very metal type shape, and a lot of metal people prefer the points over these original legs. This is alien green because of our Rest in Peace cover and Vic holding that diode. This one here is a typical silver that I like. My favorite colors are silver and black. Raiders kid, you know. This is the Epiphone. Epiphone's a 24 fret also. All three of them are 24 fret. And this has the classic body shape. Also, this can come with a couple different configurations of pickups in it. The pickups that usually come with this are the Friedmans, and I had my normal Seymours put in here so that I can use it and not be worried about there not being any kind of sonic indiscrepancy. I think it was around '84, because we had just done Killing Is My Business, and when we started working on Peace Sells, that's when everything started to go south with Chris and Gar. And like I said, when Chris and Gar went, so did all the BC Rich stuff. And this is the King V. This is the number 2. It was a 22 fret guitar before I turned it into a 24 fret guitar. That was the first 24 fret flying V in existence, and there was one before this that got away from me, and I saw somebody at Reverb has the number 1 for sale for $193,000, and I said, I would never pay that for that guitar. I would never pay that much money for that guitar, unless I physically came with it.
I noticed just before you came in, I was looking, the fortune cookie note that you have taped to the guitar.
My spiritual powers.
Yeah. Did it work?
The fortune cookie?
Yeah.
It works if you work it, you know, and I can read all kinds of spiritual haikus and whatnot, and if I don't do the necessary footwork and have that profound spiritual change, it won't matter. You're just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's the same shit, different day. So I think when that period was coming around, that was long before I started seeking to get sober. It didn't work, I had to work it. And I would say, look around me. Something worked. Something worked. Because remember, I was homeless when I was a kid. My mom was a maid. I grew up on food stamps, Medicare. This is all a gift of God. And that's why I say that every time. I don't practice either. I don't practice. I'll pick the guitar up the day we're at the venue or the day before when we're doing pre-production, and I'll remember the parts, and I just let it flow. It's just a conduit. And now I know if I practice more, I'd be a lot better, but I'm pretty comfortable with where I'm at right now. It was cool in the beginning before they started giving guitars to everyone. When you start giving your stuff out to everyone, it doesn't matter anymore. It's like flooding the economy with dollars. Inflation comes in, and I saw the girl that was working there. She was the A&R rep. She gave a guitar endorsement to a drummer. And I thought, man, this is not where I want to be. So I left. And I tried to buy Jackson. I tried to buy Jackson with Kathy Duncan from Seymour Duncan. And I tried to buy it with a guy named Joe Ensor. And after they had jerked me around for a couple times, I didn't, that was the other variable in me leaving. You know, when you're spending money on attorneys and doing due diligence and all this stuff, and it's just a wank, that wasn't cool. This is a guitar I designed the body shape for, and it wasn't for me to play, it was just something I was doodling with, and kind of reminded me of Ibanez Iceman a little bit, but I did it with ESP, and it didn't turn out right, and then Dean did it right before I left. So it never got a chance to get out onto the market. Dean, when Dean Zielinski was there with Elliot Rubinson, the company was a much different company because you had the brains and then you had the creative, and it worked really well together because, in fact, in the beginning, it was Dean who contacted us and brokered the deal with my family that I would go to Dean. And then they had a falling out, the two of them. Dean went off on his own and created a company, I think it was called Z Guitars. And then Elliot took over and sucked all of the artists out of the company. It just became a fiscal exercise, you know, make toothpicks out of logs, you know. And sure, I sold a lot of guitars, but I don't know how many I sold, you know. I mean, on the outside looking in, it looks like I'm really hard to make happy. And it's not that I'm hard to make happy. The guitar and me, when we start playing together, the outside world goes away. It does, it just does. You know, when I'm on stage, I can't see. All I see is my guitar. I know where the microphone is, and I try and focus in on that when I walk up to it so I don't bash my teeth in, but that's it. I don't think about all that outside stuff, but when you're sitting down or you're off stage and you're hearing all of this stuff and you're thinking, if we're working together and you're using me, then I need to get something out of it. I'm a commodity, I'm a businessman, and if you're taking all of it, then that means none for me, you know? And I don't want your money, I want my money. This is the V we were using in the studio and doing some of the playing and performance on this. This is an amazing sounding V, and it didn't have the 24 frets, so we used this for color and for layering guitar parts. Sometimes when you have a guitar part, you want to play the same exact thing twice, but with a different guitar or a different amp, because that same note with the two different sounds come up with a really incredible blend. And you can see the frequency map. It'll show you how the colors spread out when you do stuff like that. Jimmy Page is a world-renowned guitar sound layer. This is from my collection. It's a 79 Silver Burst. It's badass. It's super badass. We took it to the studio and I can't remember if we used it or not. There were so many parts on this new record. We had a brown Gibson Flying V that had an Evertune bridge in it. And then we had a couple other ones that we used for solos because, you know, the Evertune bridge pretty much will lock the strings and you can't get any action out of it. It's great for doing rhythm tracks on because, you know, I have a pretty hard down pick sometimes. If I'm pedaling, it'll be steady, but sometimes when I go to hit the down pick for some accents, I'll hit it a little hard and it'll make the string bend out of tune. And there's nothing worse to me than when you're making a really good track and then it gets ruined because you have a string that bends out of pitch.